The Åland crisis lasted roughly from 1918 to 1921. It started when in the winter of 1918, during the Finnish Civil War, officially to protect the Ålanders from possible attacks by the Finnish Reds from the southwestern coast of Finland, a Swedish army or military force occupied Åland. And by this time, well above 90% of the Åland inhabitants considered themselves Swedish, stationed military personnel included. In contrast to mainland Finland, where under 15% were Finnish-speaking. Unlike in Åland in the previous 20 years, social tensions had also worsened considerably in Finland. The Ålanders' answer was a wish for secession from the Grand Duchy of Finland and the Russian Empire, to which they felt little affiliation, and a request for annexation by Sweden. The leading Swedish Social Democrat Hjalmar Branting opted for dealing with the issue purely from the standpoint of international law. The cabinet of Finland viewed this position as a purely tactical one, and a dispute over whether the islands rightfully belonged to Sweden or Finland ensued. They had traditionally been regarded as a part of Sweden, but in 1809, under the Treaty of Fredrikshamn or Hamina, Russia had annexed also the Åland Islands as a part of Finland. In 1921, again despite the fact that 90% of the island's population was Swedish, and despite the fact that a referendum or plebiscite, a direct vote by Ålanders, had been organized, in which, according to official results, some 95% of the participants had favored annexation by Sweden, the League of Nations determined that the Åland Islands should remain under Finnish sovereignty, which is often attributed to the skill of the Finnish ambassador to Paris, Mr. Karl Enkel, who also was envoy or ambassador to the League of Nations in charge of Finland's presentation of the Åland question. Merit is also attributed to Finland's ambassador to Japan, Professor G. J. Ramstedt, who managed to point out to the Japanese delegation in the League of Nations that the Åland Islands are in fact a continuous archipelago or island group that joins it with Finland, and furthermore that deep sea waters separate them from Sweden. Japan's own interests in controlling Pacific islands would be helped by such a precedent, and it consequently gave important support to Finland. So Finland did get sovereignty over the Åland Islands, but was forced to give them a large degree of autonomy, including a permanent provincial government, a permanent elected provincial parliament, the refusal to declare Finland an official language, which also means that the Åland pupils and students don't have to study Finnish at school, although quite many of them do for practical reasons, such as the possibility of living or studying in mainland Finland, or at least visiting mainland Finland and being understood comfortably there. The interrelated difficulties in the relations between Sweden and Finland were resolved by the mid-1930s, when the weakened authority of the League of Nations signaled a much harsher international mood. The fear of the Åland Islands falling under the control of Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union was very real, and that was why the Swedish Foreign Minister, Mr. Rickard Sandler, proposed retaining the status of the islands, despite Sweden's long-standing policy of neutrality. Detailed defensive plans were made. However, in the end, Sweden opted not to participate in the island's defense. And I have to add that a part of some other parts of the Åland Islands self-government are the fact that Åland Islands has its flag that is commonly put to the top of mast there. The Åland Islands also have their own stamps, and the Åland Islands men of military age are exempted from military service, and there can be no military fortifications or permanent military troops stationed on the Åland Islands.